home runs that have meaning, that have significant impact towards the game. You got to love it. We're going to move on to starting pitching. We have a question here. Who is the pitcher who sprinted in from the bullpen? I believe it was Heath Bell.
No, it was the guy who
played Heath Bell?
No, I mean, maybe it was Heath Bell in the past, but
is Heath Bell the one that slid into the pitcher's mound?
He did that. Maybe it wasn't.
I think it's talking about the one where Real Muto, wasn't it? What was his name?
Oh, Jared Hughes?
Yeah, Jared Hughes. Yep, that's it. Yep, Jared Hughes.
Let me say that in chat. Oh, yep. Raj did.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
7191.
Good call. Very good. All right. Starting rotation. This is a nice one. And obviously, if we're going to run off the current rotation, I had to take Jake out of it, guys. I had to take him out.
Oh, that's fine.
It doesn't change the result.
Oh, yeah. Listen, I'll tell you what. You could take Jake out. Walker might end up on the IL for a week or two. I'm still going with the Mets rotation here because Scherzer, I mean, he's always in that conversation for the top 3 pitcher in baseball. You can make the case right now that he's the best pitcher in baseball over Gerrit Cole. Chris Bassett is an ace on some teams in baseball right now. He's the Mets' supposed number 3 pitcher. Right now, number 2 for the purpose of this discussion. Guy pitched phenomenal the other night. Awesome game from Chris Bassett. He was our leading fantasy scorer in last year's me and them took 45's Liga Chucha's team until he got drilled in the dome. And listen, you got a guy like Carlos Carrasco. If you take the first inning aside, great guy, veteran to have as the 4th spot. And Taijuan Walker, McGill, whoever you have there at the end of the rotation, I have no problem with that. The 5th starter usually roll the dice anyway. I'm going with the Mets here without a doubt. With DeGrom, all right, I'm taking the Mets rotation over the Yankees without DeGrom. With DeGrom, I'm putting this rotation up as against any rotation MLB history, and I want to see that discussion.
Ooh, damn. That's a take if I ever heard one. Tom, do you feel any differently, man?
Well, it's the answer is the Mets starting rotation, but
that's painful.
Right, isn't it though? That is the answer, but the Yankees starting rotation last year was one of the best in baseball. I'm trying to get the ERA. They had a low. The tough thing about comparing the Mets and the Yankees at this point is the Yankees rotation is intact from last year. It's the same rotation. So, with Sevy coming back into it. Mets are very rebuilt with Scherzer and Bassett. So the answer is the Mets, but the Yankees rotation is not bad. And this is, I don't think the Yankees shouldn't feel bad about what they're throwing out there, every day, because they have been shown to have quality arms on the mound.
I'm going with the Mets rotation now. I don't think this is a knock on our Yankees rotation. There are plenty of X factors on this team, and so far in this young season, the Yankee rotation actually has not been the issue. They pitched very well over the last few days. But yes, you have a couple of guys who are coming off some major injuries, guys that you haven't seen a full season from. We talked last week on the show about over-unders, and one of the things that was talked about is how many Yankee pitchers are going to go over 180 innings, and we all said it was going to be just one, and it might be just Gerrit Cole. The Yankees just don't have those guys that are going to log in a bunch of innings for the year. You're going to have guys who are going to have stints on the IL. You have some guys that, you could say they're solid in the middle of the rotation for the Yankees, but they're definitely not aces on other teams. I'm going with the Mets rotation right now, definitely. Listen. And our last piece, the bullpen. Joe, did I forget you?
Yeah.
I forgot you again? Fuck. All right, go ahead, Joe. What do you got?
Listen, when the problem with the Yankees is you got the 3rd best pitcher in New York. So when you start out and you're
at least he stays on the mound.
Yeah, but you know what? Well, that depends. Is the mound form? Is he due on the mound 4 minutes after the start time, or is he due on the mound right at start time?
I mean, at least he was on the mound. Like for as much as Met fans and all baseball fans give Aaron Judge a hard time about being injury prone when one of his injuries was he broke his wrist, Jacob deGrom is always hurt. It's always something else with him. And I'm not saying he's faking it or he's whatever, or he's soft, or I'm not saying that, but he is always hurt.
DeGrom made 30 starts 3 years in a row, and he made 12 starts in the shortened season. I think he only missed 1 start that season. It's just the last 2 that's been a problem. But that's not the point. The point of the matter is, in Cole's situation, all right, Cole is supposed to be better than what he is, and that is what is keeping the Yankee rotation actually being from even better than it should be. Forget the injury to Severino. Forget all the other stuff with the suspensions with Herman and all that nonsense. Cole is supposed to be better than what he has been. All right. Cole is getting paid. Cole has the largest contract in New York history right now in terms of chunk value, in terms of total value. And he has, at this particular point in time, been a letdown for the Yankees. He is a good pitcher. He's probably the best pitcher in the AL. All right. But let's face it. He hasn't been as dominant. He's never lived up to what he did in Houston. All right. He has pitched pitched the Yankees out of a game in the playoffs last year when they needed him most. At the end of the season, forget it. He put himself in a position where he was getting hit around by Toronto and the Rays. So, you know what? Gerrit Cole's got to focus less on the start time of the game and focus more on pitching better in baseball games. He is, at this point, been a disappointment for the Yankees, and one of the top reasons that the Yankees have not succeeded.
You can't say he's been a disappointment for the Yankees. I mean, he's finished second in the Cy Young last year.
Gallo struck out. That was great.
I mean, obviously he struck out. That's what he does. Anyway, he finished second in the Cy Young last year. He was hurt. He had a hamstring injury that did slow him down at the end of the year. He was still not all, I don't think he was fully healthy for that wild card game. I do agree that the whole Billy Crystal thing opening day and some of the other things, he has proven to have some thin skin, which he has to get better at. But he has not been a disappointment for the Yankees.
Let me tell you though, he's tough to root for. He's a tough guy to root for. When you're going out there and talking about missing a start time by 4 minutes. And especially after the performance of the playoff last year, and the whole thing with the spider tack last year, and then your spin rates dropped by 15% the day after they banned the spider tack.
As did a lot of players, but okay.
Yeah. But that's not the point. He's the poster child for this because of basically admitting that he used it and that he leans on it. He's tough to root for. And you know what? The guy across town, when he does pitch, keeps his mouth shut and goes out and has twice as good as Cole is when he does pitch, because DeGrom is one of the best pitchers of run prevention in history.
Oh, right. And no one's going to argue that, but
right. But but I'm saying from a standpoint of the fans, of the Yankee fans, this again goes back to a similar conversation when you're talking about the Judge extension and that crosstown pressure. It's hard to root for sometimes when he's going out there and bitching and moaning about whatever it is, start time, spider tack, etc., and coming up with every excuse in the book of why his performances haven't lived up to what his past performances in Houston hit up to. So I think that's a problem for the Yankees. I think that's a problem for Cole, and I think the best thing that Cole can do is keep his mouth shut, perform like he is being paid to perform, like he is the highest paid pitcher in the game, which because he is, unless you want to count the AAV of Scherzer. I think that's the thing. So
I think everyone could agree on that. I just think the idea that he's been disappointment is silly.
And I feel like you're being a little too harsh. I'm not going to crucify the guy for being a little bit dorky. Yeah, Gerrit Cole is my dork. He's a dork for baseball. For 4 minutes complaining about the pregame, that's silly shit. We're not talking about a guy who's booing his own fans in a summer day and then getting chastised by every fan and then kissing his ass the very next week in Javier Baez. We're talking about a guy.
Oh, no, listen. I told you from day one, he earned a ticket right out of town after that game. And I was right. The Mets did not even attempt to re-sign him. I told you from day one that was a mistake. And if Lindor wasn't on a 10-year contract already, Lindor would have been the next one out the door.
And I'll tell you what, that debate of the aces, I think we could just say